Okay, welcome back everyone for our second daf on this beautiful Motzei Shabbos, and sponsored also by Shelley Zeitlin, my dear editor and friend, Yaina Bas Avram HaKayin, his Zayda, his Neshama should have an Aliyah, should have a Lichtige Gan Eden, and we also want to again say that we're specially sponsored by Ed Salah from London. Today is Shabbos' daf, and it was his mother's yahrzeit, Bava Basra Daf. Neshama should have a lichtig and Gan Eden, be a militzi yashara for her family, for all of us, and all of Klal Yisrael. I want to say that it's a tremendous Kiddush Hashem that we have 30 Zoomers strong over here at, what time is it? At 11:45. This will be a shorter daf, so don't worry. You won't miss Shachris. I know I saw that look on Eddie's face. You know, he's very makbid on Zman Kriya Shema. Don't worry, Eddie. You'll make the Zman Kriya Shema wherever you are. I'm not sure which time zone Eddie is in. You know.
My wife, can I ask you a favor? But I just got an email. A friend of mine passed away this morning. Yehuda ben Moshe.
We learn Le'iloi Nishmas Yehuda ben Moshe. Any friend of Eddie's is a friend of ours, and we feel sorry. He should have a easy din and glide easily into Olam Haba. We now learn about Ifra Hormuz. Ifra Hormuz was the mother of Shavar Malka, and at this time Ifra Hormuz was a Goita. She was not Jewish. So Ifra Hormuz, made the Shavar Malka, the mother of Shavar Malka, Shadra Arba Mea Dinare Lekami de Rabami. She sent 400 gold dinare to Rabami, V'loi Kablinu, and he didn't accept it, consistent with our Gemara over here, the Chesed L'umim Chatas, so he didn't accept it. Shadrinu Kame de Rava. She sent it to Rava v'kablinu, and Rava accepted it mishum shalom malchus, because he didn't want to create enmity with the throne. Shama Reb Ami ikbet. Reb Ami heard about this and he was makbet. So Amalei and Reb Ami said, Leslie, does Rava not hold of what it says in the pasuk, B'yovesh ketzira, when the branch dries out, tishavarna. Nashim boys, then women will come and me'irasaisa and ignite it. So here we have problems with the Persian when they cease having schusim, will be able to cut them down. So what are you giving them more schusim? The Rava did it mishum shalom malchus. Says the Gemara, okay, so then Rabami should also take into account that Rabami nami mishum shalom malchus. So the Gemara says no, Rabami didn't mind that Rava took it. He thought that he should have given it to idolatrous poor, that they shouldn't get the merit. Says the Gemara, well, that's what Rava did with it. Rava Taka gave it to the idolatrous poor. However, Ramami, the Ikbid, Ramami who was Makbid, it's the Ikbid, that's because the Saimua Kaimei. They didn't tell him that that's what Rava did. Tanya, Amrullah, this is a very famous Gemara about the benefits of helping the poor, even when it's hard. Tanya, Amrullah al Binyamin Atzadik, they said about Binyamin the righteous. Muna al Kubashel Stock, he was in charge of the charity collection. Pam Achas, one time, Basa Isha Lafan of Bishnei Batsurus, a woman came to him in a time of famine. Amallah, and she said to him, Rebbe Panaseni, Rebbe, support me. Amallah, so he said to her, Avodah she'ein bekupa shel tzedakah klum, I don't have any charity funds. Amallah, she said to him, Rebbe, im ein ato mefanaseni, if you don't support me, hari isha v'shiva maneh mesim, a woman and 7 children will die. So what did he do? He took it from his personal funds. Amad apirnasa mishaloi, he took from his personal money. Liyamim, after a while, Chala, Binyamin HaTzadik took sick, v'nata lamos, and it looked like he would die. Amru Malachi Hashavis Lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so the celestial angel said before Hashem, Rebbeinu Shalom, Ata Marta, you said, Kol HaMekayim Nefesh Achas MiYisrael. If you save one soul in Yisrael. Ki ilu kayim ha'olam malei. It's as if you saved the whole world. U'binyamin hatzadik sheyichya isha u'shiva banea. And Binyamin HaTzadik that kept alive a woman and her 7 children, Yomas B'shanim Mu'atas, should he die long? Miyad Karolai Gzardinai, immediately the decree against him was ripped up. Tana Haisifulai Eser Mishtayim Shana Al Shnaisam. They added 22 years to his life. So we see the value of Tzedakah Tatzim Amavis. What an insurance. Now we have the famous Gemara of Munabez HaMelech. Tana Rabbanan. Tana Rabbanan. Ma'aseh b'Munabez HaMelech. There was an incident with King Munabez. Shebizbeis oitzroisav oitzus avaisav. Munabez opened up and gave his royal coffers and the royal coffers of his ancestors b'shnei betzuris during a time of drought and famine. V'chibro alav achiv u'beis avim, and the royal princes, the royal brothers, and the household ganged up at him. V'amru lo, and they said to him, Avoisecha ganzvu, our ancestors stored away Voisifu al Shalavoisam and added to the royal coffers, Va'atam avazvazam, and you're giving it away. Amalahem, so he said to them, Avoisai ganzu lamata, my ancestors stored below. V'ani ganasti lamala, I store it above. Shnemar emes me'eretz titzmach, truth sprouts from the earth, but b'tzedek mishamayim nishkaf, charity looks down from heaven. I'm storing in heaven. My ancestors stored it in a place where people could get a hold of it. I stored in a place that's untouchable. Charity and justice is the base of your throne. And therefore by Hashem's throne, nobody is going to touch it. My ancestors put away things that don't produce fruit. I stored things that produce fruit. Shenemar imrut tzaddik ki toiv, say to righteousness that it is good. Ki pri malaleim yochelu, because the fruit of its deeds are consumed. Avoisai ganzu aitzus mammon. My ancestor only stored money. Vani ganasti aitzus nefashos. By saving life, I stored stockpiled lives. Shenema pri tzaddik, the fruit of the righteous is eitz chayim. V'lekeach nefashos, and he who purchases souls is a chacham. They stored for others, for their children, for their grandchildren. I put away for myself. For you it will be considered righteousness. They stored in this world. Righteousness will go before you. The honor of Hashem will gather you in. So here, this is a very big yesod, Rabbi say. When a person puts away tzedakah, he puts it in a place that's untouchable. A person that puts away tzedakah is investing in the next world. A person that helps families and helps people is purchasing lives. A person is taking care of himself. Ulachat tiyeh tzedakah. A person will get dividends. So it's a solid AAA investment in all areas. Now the Mishnah says that although you're not considered a resident of the city until a year, but if you buy a house, you can't share a year, he's a member of the city right away. Says the Tanya of Shimon Gamliel, even if you buy just a small piece of real estate, how are you can't share here? Says the Gemara, our Mishnah says you have to buy a house. Says Gemara, is that Reb Shimon Gamliel's opinion? I vatani Reb Shimon Gamliel Aimer im kana sham karka ru'ya lebeis dira. Only if you buy a piece of real estate that you could build a house, hari can't here, but not a very small piece of real estate. Says Gemara, you're right. Trey Tanoi, there's two Tanoim that argue. Well, even Reb Shimon Gamliel, what Reb Shimon Gamliel's opinion is. Now, says the Mishnah.
Can I ask a shaila, Rebbe?
I don't know if it's a good time to ask a shaila at 5 minutes to 12. Says the Mishnah Vaita. Ein chok. I'm sorry, Ben Sion. At 5 minutes to 12, I'm not accepting a question. Ein chokin es a chotzer. We don't divide a courtyard. Ad shei arba amas lezeh va'arba amas lezeh. We don't divide a courtyard unless after the division there will be enough for 4 amas for each of the people. So if I share a courtyard with Ben Sion, and Ben Sion wants to make a division, if there's only 7 amas, I could say no. I don't want to divide 7 amas. It's not enough. Has to be 4 amas for each of us. And if it's a field, there have to be 9 kav for each of us. Rabbi Yudai, it has to be 9 halves. In other words, 4.5 kav for one and 4.5 kav for the other. We can't. Ben Sion can't insist on a division. By a garden, a half a kav for each of us. It's enough a quarter of a kav. V'leis a traklin, not a meeting room. V'leis a moiron, or a ballroom. V'leis a shovich, or dovecoat. V'leis a talis, or a cloak. V'leis a merchatz, or a bathhouse. V'leis beis abad, or an olive press. V'leis beis hashlachin, or an irrigated field. Unless there's enough for each one. In other words, as the Mishnah will explain, that if let's say Mel and I own a ballroom, Mel could only assist to divide unless it's still called the ballroom when we divide it. Zaklal. This is the general principle. Kol sheyechalek. If we divide it, ushmayalav, let's say it's a cloak, and we divide it, it's 2 small cloaks, but they're still considered cloaks, then cholkin. Vimla, but if it's not a cloak anymore, then ein cholkin. Now, emasai, bisman she'ein shneim reitzen. That's only if Mel and I are in dispute. Aval bisman she'shneim reitzen, but if we both agree that it's time to divide, then afilu pachas mikan yachlek. We could divide even if there's less. However, the kisve hakodesh, if we both own a sefer Torah, afal pi shneim reitzim, even if we both want to divide, lo yachlek, we don't divide because that would be a genai to the sefer Torah. Now, says the Gemara. And again, I really appreciate, I don't take it for granted. Really isn't anything that I could do about. The Motzei Shabbos is over, that's the way it is in the country, but they are very big blot. I try to usually finish before 12. I try very hard. But I really appreciate that everybody is sticking in with us while we are learning. Amar Rabasi, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Arba amas she'amru, when we say that Ben Sion and I only have to divide if it's 4 amas for each of us, that's besides 4 amas in front of the door. In other words, we each have a house opening up into the courtyard. We're entitled for unloading and loading, we're entitled to have 4 amas in front of the door. So Amar Abasi, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Arba amas she'amru chutz mishal psachim. It's besides in front of the door. Tanya Nami Hachi, we learn likewise. Ein cholkin es hachatza, we don't divide a courtyard. Achie but shmeina amas l'zeh, v'shmeina amas l'zeh. 8 amas for each one. Says, well, but we learned 4 amas. V'anan tanan, arba amas l'zeh, v'arba amas l'zeh. El shma we know, Kid Ravasi, that it's 4 amas plus 4 amas for the door. Kshmamina, the Ikeda Ramalu Mirma, some come to the same conclusion while asking a contradiction. But we learned 8 for each one. But Tanya Shmaina Hamisul That's besides for 4 amas in front of each door. Amar Rav Huna, Chotzer mischalekes lefi psachel. A courtyard is divided according to its doors. So the question is, what does this mean that a courtyard is divided according to its doors? Now here's a case where a father died, and Reuven and Shimon, his 2 sons, no bechor, they're inheriting the courtyard. The question is, how much does each one get in the courtyard? So Rav Huna says, Chotzer mischalekes lefi psachel, that if one son has 2 doors in the courtyard, he gets 2/3 of the courtyard. If one son has 1 door in the courtyard, he gets 1/3 of the courtyard. And Rav Chisda disagrees. He says, no. Rav Chisda, the son that has 2 doors gets 4 amas for each door. The son that gets 1 door gets 4 amas for 1 door. But Vashar Cholkim B'Shavah, the rest of the courtyard they divide equally. And Ketani Kavasi de Rav Chisda, we have a brayso like Rav Chisda. Psachim Shebechotzer, doors in the courtyard, Yeshlam Arba Amas, Hayelazep Pesach Echad Lezeh Shnei Psachim, Zeh Sheyesh Lo Pesach Echad, the one that has 1 door, Noitel Arba Amas, V'zeh Sheyesh Lo Shnei Psachim, the one that has 2 doors, Noitel Shmei Amas, V'ashar Cholkim B'Shavah, and the rest they divide equally. Hayelazep Pesach Roichav Shmei Amas, let's say he has a door wide 8 amas. So Noitel Shmei Amas Keneged HaPesach, he takes 8 amas opposite the Pesach, the Arba Amas B'Chotzer. Now the question is, why, if he has a door 8 amas, why should he get another extra 4 amas in the courtyard? Arba Amas B'Chotzer Ma'av Aditaya. What does that mean? It says, well, no, it means 8 by 4. Amar Bai Hachi Kamer, Noitel Shmei Amas B'Oirech HaChotzer. He gets 8 amas along the length, in other words, the length of his doorway. The Arba Amas B'Roichav HaChotzer, and 4 in the width, so it's 8 by 4. Now, Amar Ameimar, Hai Peira de Souffle. But again, here, a brother inheriting from his father inherited a pit that stores date pits, which are used for animal fodder. So Amar Ameimar Hai Peira de Souffle. Sounds like a souffle. It's making Shelley hungry. Amar Ameimar Hai Peira de Souffle, a pit that stores date pits. Yesh lo arba amas l'kol ruach v'ruach. He gets 4 amas around all the sides of the date pit to load and unload the dates. But that's only if he didn't have a special door for unloading into the date pit. If he has a special door, then he only gets 4 amas in front of that door, and that's it. And if the date pit is right near there, then he only gets 4 amas, which he would have gotten for the door anyway, so then he doesn't get anything extra. Amar Rav Huna. So first, normal size looking Amud of the evening. Amar Rav Huna. Achsadra, a patio, a veranda, a deck. Ein lo daled amas. It doesn't get an extra 4 amas. Why? Because, and even though there's a door that opens up to the deck, he doesn't get another 4 amas after the deck. Because taimamai, why do you get 4 amas mishum pirik masai? Because of unloading the burden in front of the door. Hacha efshir da'ayel legavoy. This patio, it's not elevated. This patio, the animal could walk into the patio or mafarik and unload over there. So Master Rav Sheshes, echad shari batim, the gates of a house, the echad shari achsadrois, and the gates of a patio, yesh lem dalar amas. So you see that an achsadra gets 4 amas. Says the Gemara, Kitanya hi b'achsadra de beirav. This was like a patio that they had in yeshivas, which was closed on all 4 sides, so that Talmidim could sleep there. So the Gemara says, well, that's obvious, because achsadra de beirav pshita idruna ma'alya. It's a regular room. Ela b'achsadra rumaisa. Here it's talking about a Roman veranda whose walls do not reach all the way up. The walls didn't reach to the ceiling. But even so, since it's enclosed all around, you don't bring an animal into there, so therefore you get 4 amas in front of it. Tan Rabbanan, Beisha, the gatehouse, Achsadra, a porch, Umar Feses, this is like it's like a wraparound porch on a 2nd story where the different apartments go on this galley and come down the steps. So yesh lehem dalar amas. Now hoyu lehem chamisha botim psuchen lemarpeses. If there are 5 apartments opening up to the porch, ein lehem dalar amas bilvad. When they come down, they only get 4 amas. Boy minei Rab Yochanan Rab Yanai, lul shel tanagaylim. Here, what happens over here is that Mark, they have these things in Bela Kinwood. Mark has a chicken coop, and the question is, does he get dalar amas in front of his chicken coop? So, Ba'imine Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Yanai lul shel tanagaylim yesh lo dalar amas or ein lo dalar amas. Does he get 4 amas in front of the chicken coop? Amalei, so Mark, stop pulling shenanigans. Taima mai mishum pirik masai, because of unloading and loading. Here, the chickens just claw their way up and claw their way down. He doesn't get dalar amas in front of the chicken coop. Here, Eddie has a house that half of it is roofed and half of it is not roofed. Half of it is under the open sky. Does he have 4 amas in front of the door by the courtyard for unloading and loading? Amalei, so the Gemara says, Ein loy dalar amas. Now, loy by kiruv milagav. It's no question if the roofed part is on the inside, so then the open part is on the outside, so he brings the animal straight into the house by the open part and it unloads. The chiddush is, afilu kiyurav klapei chutz, even if the roof part is towards the front, the animal could go through the rooftop part and unload where it's under the open sky. After the ayel gaboy, it could go inside umafarik. Boy minei Rav Huna merabami. Here's an interesting thing. There's courtyards, and on either side of the courtyard there's alleyways. The alleyway is the place where they come out of the courtyards and go from the alleyway into the Rishus Harabim. So what happened is you have a sandwich. Eddie and Menachem and Aaron are Eddie, Menachem, and Aaron. They have a courtyard. Their courtyard opens to the left, to the alley to the left. Now Eddie wants to make a door and open his and do construction and open into the alley to the right. Now you could understand that the people of that alley are not excited to have extra traffic, especially Eddie, because he's always traveling. So says the Gemara, let's see it inside. By minei Rav Huna Reb Ami, Echad mibnei Mavi, shebikesh lahachzer pischa lemavi acha. He wants to break through to the alley on the right and exit through their alley. B'nei Mavi ma'akfin alav, ein ma'akfin alav. Could they stop him or not? Amalei, so the Gemara says, B'nei Mavi ma'akfin alav. They could stop him because they don't want to increase their traffic. They have enough without Eddie. Now, the government would billet soldiers into people's houses. So the Gemara says, if there's an apartment complex, do we say achsanya lefi b'nei adam mischalekes? Do we say that they billet the soldiers according to how many families live in the complex? Oy lefi psachim mischalekes, or how many doors open to the public from the complex? So of course, if it only had one door, then you would only billet soldiers one time. So the Gemara says, no, obviously if there's apartments, amalei lefi b'nei adam mischalekes. It depends on how many families that they're there. Tani nami hachi. Zevel shebechatzer. The manure in the courtyard. They would throw out their waste, and then after a while it would become valuable fertilizer. Mischalekes lefi psachim. It's divided by how many doors there are. So if, let's say, a complex has 2 doors, they would get 2 portions of the fertilizer. It wouldn't go up on how many families there are. But achsanya, the soldiers there, billeted lefi b'nei adam, how many families? Amar Rav Huna, echad mibnei mavi, shebikesh listaim keneged pischai. Here, this is an interesting thing. In an alley, let's say you have in the alley A.B. Spry, Dr. Black, Shelley, Michal Avram, and Berish. A.B. is all the way in the inside of the alley, followed by Dr. Black, followed by Shelley, followed by Michal Avram, followed by Berish, who's all the way towards the street. Now each one in front of their door that opens into alley has an area of 4 amas to load and unload. So Michal Avram wants to be a chevraman. He wants to fence in his 4 amma area in the alleyway. Of course, they could stop him. They want to have easy passage through the alleyway, because now they're going to have to walk around his fenced-in area. Shemar balei and asaderech, it makes them walk more. So the Gemara says, wait a second. It's not so clear. It says everybody could stop him. It's not so clear that Berish has any rights in the alleyway. He has rights to get out of his house and go out to the street. Who says he has rights to go deeper in the alleyway? You have 5 courtyards opening into the alleyway. Now, as we said, AB is all the way on the top, at the end of the alleyway. And then comes Dr. Block, then comes Shelley, then comes Michal Avram, and then comes Berish. Says the Gemara, Kulon mishtamshis imachitzaina. They could all use Berish's part, because everybody has to pass through the alleyway to go through Berish's part and go out into the street. V'achitzaina mishtamshis la'atzma, and Berish can only use what's opposite his courtyard. He has no right to go deeper in the alleyway. He has no rights there. V'ashar mishtamshis imashniya. Everybody could use Michal Avram because they got to pass through to get to the outside. Vashniya, Michal Avram could be mishtamshus la'atzma. He could use his part, or mishtamshus imachitzaina, and he could use Berish to get out to the street. Nim says Pnimis, Abi, who's all the way on the top, he gets everybody's. Mishtamshus la'atzma, he gets his part, and only he gets his part because he's all the way in the back. Nobody else could come in. Or mishtamshus im kolachas v'achas, and he could use Dr. Block's and Shelley's and Michal Avram's and Berish's. Says Gemara Tanohi. It's a machlokes Tanohi. The Tanya, echad b'nei mavi should be kishlach zepiskal l'mavi achar. As we said, where Eddie wants to open the door to the other side, b'nei mavi ma'akvin alav. The people could stop him. Ha yisosim if it was closed. However, if Eddie once did have entry to the other alleyway, it got closed, or Bikesh L'Paisrin, he wants to reopen it, then Ein B'nei Mavi Ma'akvin, they can't stop him. Divrei Rebbe. Shimon L'Hazer, I'm a Chomish Chatzeres Apsuchas L'Mavi, 5 courtyards that open into an alleyway. Kulon Mishtamshus B'Mavi Zu Imzu. They all could use with one another. So this one says that everybody could go both ways in the alleyway. They all have full access to the alleyway. So the Gemara says, Chatzeres Mandikar Shmai. Who mentioned anything about courtyards? Chesurei Mechzer, there's something missing. V'achi Ketani. V'chein Chomesh Chatzeres Apsuchas Amavi, where we have 5 courtyards opening to the alleyway, with Abi on the top. Right? Abi on the top, then up the block, then Shelley, then Michal Avram, then Berish. Kula Mishtamshis Imachitzaina. Everybody could use opposite Berish, but Chitzaina Mishtameres La'atzma. Berish only gets what's opposite him. He can't go upwards in the Mavi. That's out of his bounds. Divrei Rabbi. Shimon Lazar, no, everybody has rights to the whole alleyway. Everybody has access to the entire alleyway. What a job tonight, Rabbi Isai. Absolutely amazing. I'm proud of everybody. An hour and 26 minutes to learn these Moridika Blat. Remember tomorrow night at 5:2, we're going to do now the Mishnah Yaimis.